welcome back to my channel, Hasty Books. I'm Camila and I'm bringing you the sort of penultimate video of the Women's Prize for 2025. I'm very excited because the winner is being announced this week when I'm posting this video. I obviously did a few weeks ago my review of the shortlist for nonfiction. I loved all of them, but you can go and see my review of all 6 books and which one I think might win and that I would like to win. And today I'm back with the fiction shortlist. So I was underwhelmed by the long list this year, as you might have seen in previous videos, and I was underwhelmed by the shortlist as well. I have to be honest. The rating is going actually from a 2.5 to a 4, while I believe that every single nonfiction book was between a 4 and a 5. So that tells you like the reaction I've had to the list being announced and then my reaction to actually reading them is sort of aligned. The book at the bottom of my shortlist, my personal shortlist, it probably won't surprise many people. I feel like it's been a bit of a Marmite book, but it is All Fours by Miranda July and it's with a 2.5 star. That book, oh my goodness. It's difficult to do a review because not much happens. We have a very privileged white woman who's sort of an artist that goes on a road trip because she's supposed to go to New York to go on an exhibit, but then she stops like an hour from where she lives and starts having sort of a, not really an affair, sort of an emotional affair, but mostly she just masturbates in her hotel room. Discusses a lot on menopause and I guess bodily and also emotional sort of feelings, but to me it just felt really flat. And it was just a bit too kind of quirky, difficult female character in that. I won't even say strong female character because I don't think that's what she was. And yeah, I just had some icky feelings about this book. Like it just didn't give me the right vibes. And I didn't gel with a lot of the themes. Like I wish there would have been more on menopause, more on like just, you know, growing out of relationships, on art and all of these things, but I don't think that that's where it really went. And I also, I don't know, I was listening to the audiobook of this one and I actually fell asleep at some point. And when I woke up, maybe 45 minutes, an hour had passed and I truly don't feel like I'd missed anything. So I just kept going because I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And yeah, I just wasn't very keen. So bottom of my list, 2.5 is generous actually for what I felt about this book. And it's definitely one of the worst, well for me, one of the least pleasant reading experience I've had this year so far. And I wouldn't recommend it personally. And also, although if you read it, let's talk about it. Especially if you disliked it. But if you liked it, I would love to know why. I have a colleague actually who messaged me how much she liked it. And I like to hear that, you know, to hear the parts of it that she'd enjoy and why the quirkiness of it might have gone, like, she gelled with that a bit more than I did. In 5th place with 3 stars, and that's because it's not a book that I love, but it's not a book that I disliked. So it's just that. It was The Persians by Sanam Mahloudji. And yeah, this book follows a bunch of different women in a family of Persians. Like they're all about their heritage and like where they've come from. They used to be a big family in power. I don't know, the privilege, again like with the previous one, it was a privileged view of things and a privilege or a desire to show privilege and to own and put forth a place of privilege that just really doesn't sit well with me. I think the writing was done well, that I really felt that coming off of the characters. But again, it's not a book that in which a lot happens. I didn't feel myself particularly wanting to root for anyone. I feel there's a lot of characters as well. So it's quite like it's sort of interesting, and I really like sort of ensemble cast, you know, stuff like that. But for in this one particularly, it didn't really, again, gel with me. I think that's the thing. I didn't dislike it. I didn't want to root for anyone. I didn't find myself rooting for anyone or really caring. Like I was just listening to the chapters being like, okay, like why do I care? I do not actually. So I find it very difficult to want to carry on with this book. I finished it because I was like, I need to finish this list, just like with All Fours. Oh my god, I wish I'd just given up on that book. After the first hour, I wish I'd given up. This one that much, but like after a while I was like, there's nothing here for me. I think there are a lot better books to showcase the richness of the Iranian culture, and to me this one wasn't really, I don't know, really worth the time, really. In fourth place, and this is where the list gets a bit jumbled because this is based on the ratings when I read them. So with 3.5 stars is a Safekeep. And I read this outside of the context of the Women's Prize. I read this for the Booker Prize last year. So I sort of read it out with all of these books. And at the time I was like, I saw the ending coming. Like, I don't know, it didn't kind of get me more than that. And I was like, yeah, it's interesting. Characters, interesting sort of ideas, and really interesting to hear about like a side of Dutch and also World War II history that you don't really get to hear a lot about. And that has really stayed with me over the last 6 months or so since I read it, maybe a bit more. And I think for that reason, I think it's crept up to a 4-star for me. For that reason, I don't think it belongs in 4th place. And so I think it sits in 2nd place in my current rating of the Women's Prize shortlist. And that's really good actually, when a book sort of stays with you. Because even though sometimes there's a bit of a blah reading experience, like I actually couldn't wait to put down that book. Like as in, I just didn't love the reading experience that much. But the ideas and the characters and the context of it really touched me and stayed with me. And I think that's really incredible for a book, you know, that it stays in your mind that much. So yeah, for that reason, it's really a 4th place that should be a 2nd place. So that's where we're gonna leave that. In 3rd place, but really 4th place, this one is shocking because I did not expect to like this one, but with 3.75 stars, is Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. Okay, I literally scoffed when I saw this on the long list and the short list. I still don't believe this book belongs on this list. I do think that books and series do not belong on the list. This is my unpopular opinion. I don't think it's unpopular actually, but this is one of my opinions. And this book, even though I think you can probably read it without context, I think it's quite difficult to read without context. I think that I got more of this book because I read O. William for the Booker a couple of years ago, which I was just like, ugh. Like, that's what made me go ugh about this book, because I just didn't really like it that much. It's very of its, so the author is very of her own era and of her own generation, and it's also clearly a lot of white privilege, very similar to Miranda July actually, like very similar but like a different sort of age bracket basically is what the vibe it got me. And nothing really happens, it's just a lot of people talking to each other, and yeah, it's very mundane. But I just still found myself really sort of going along and be like interested by these people's lives and the way that they, especially the way they connected with each other. And yeah, I thought that was really nice. And actually I was really surprised. I was listening to it and I was like, I'll get it done, you know, listen to the audiobook. And I was like, the more I was reading, I was like, yeah, okay, I actually enjoyed that experience. And when it ended, I was a bit like, oh, this was kind of nice to be in these people's lives in that way. Again, no one's that interesting or likable, but just real sort of very normal people sharing their stories. And the sort of privileged class of it is where it might rub me the wrong way, and which is why I'm surprised by some of the chairs choosing a lot of themes of privilege for this short list. And maybe that's why I've been disappointed by this, but that's maybe a conversation for another time. In second place, but really in third place, is Good Girl by Aria Aber. I wasn't super keen on this book because it was really pushing the like Berlin rave scene like vibe, and I do not like books that have like a musical element to them. Like I like music, but I just, for me, those things don't mix, and I don't think that it translates well. Like I don't get it that way, the way I receive it. So I really struggle. So I was like not looking forward to this book. But then when I started it, I realized there's so much about this book that I related to so much. And it's very much a growing up between cultures. Like I obviously have white privilege, so I'm not like the character in this book. But she grows up obviously as a woman of color in Germany. Her parents obviously like moved to Germany and she grew up there. And they're very much like, you know, we try to give you a better life. And it's always interesting to me. I know it's a theme that I personally really get touched by. This whole idea of like the second generation or first generation, so a citizen, you know, like living in a culture that's not really totally your own, but it is your own because you're growing up there, you're being formed by it, but you're being formed by it in a very different way. And this girl, she rebels a lot, and she gets into all these terrible relationships, mostly with much older guy who's really terrible person. And then that's when it becomes difficult to then relate, because like we've all been young and done stupid things, but there's a lot of stupid things in this. I don't know, I like the vibes of it. I don't think a lot of things happen, so again, it's a difficult one to say what happens. Like I think she tries to find herself basically and find where she belongs and what she, I guess, wants to stand for as well, because she gets really mad at her friends who want to just be like, yeah, you know, turns out maybe I'm gonna go to uni, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna settle down, have a partner. And she just gets really mad at all of that. And I think it's just about finding your own place. That I thought the themes were really interesting and really touching, the way that they were done and constructed around this character, sort of between expectations and cultures. Like that was just really good. And also it turns out there's really not that much to do with music. Like I'm really confused, like badly sold to me in a sense. Like I don't get the vibe of the blurb in the book, but anyway, yeah, so a really good one. Oh, this was a 4-star, by the way. And finally, in first place, and you'll know if you've done this sort of countdown or count up, is Fundamentally by Nussaibah Younis. This is the only book that I've predicted for the long list this year. I remember when I found it online, I was literally like, this sounds so interesting. I think it just came out in February. And yeah, it just sounded fascinating, especially with the author's background working in international relations and politics and working in the Middle East with non-governmental, you know, associational bodies. And yeah, it was really interesting to get her perspective, trying to make a difference, but then at what point and at what cost, and also why. Like I just love all those themes, you know. She tries so hard to have this external impact, but a lot of it comes back to her. And again, it's a very similar theme to Good Girl. I can see why those two actually, personally for me, were like the two most interesting one that touched me the most when I read them recently. It also relates on like, where do you fit in? Where is your place in the world? And what do you want to be? Or what do you want your impact to be? So that's what happens. So she goes to lead a project to rehabilitate ISIS wives, and it sort of goes awry, but there's so much humor, but also some really hard hitting topics and scenes, and I just really enjoy it. And the fact that it's a debut, like, she did so well. I cannot wait to see what else she does, if she has another novel in her. Obviously this seemed to be very close to what she's been doing her day job, so we'll see. But I'm really excited to have seen this title on this list and on the short list and to have read it. Okay, now we're at the point where I've done all 6 reviews. Yay, great. But which one's gonna win? What's my prediction? I'm quite worried that all 4 is gonna win. I hope not, okay? I hope not. Miranda Joy has been on a lot of short lists this season with this book, and I don't understand. There's always one. There's always one also I don't understand, so this year's just all of them at once. Yeah, I feel like that has a really good chance. If not, I think I'll be the Safekeep or Good Girl. That's a bit cowardly to give 3 out of 6 as a winner. So, I predict an obvious win for all 4s, but I hope the Safekeep wins. Do I hope that? Well, obviously my favorite was Fundamentally, so if that wins, I'm happy. Good Girl wins, I'm happy. The Safekeep, I think, would be a strong win. I just don't know that Good Girl is a winner. I mean, I would be happy if it won. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's not my choice, but I feel all 4s or the Safekeep is gonna win. You've heard it here. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I hope it's Fundamentally a Good Girl. I don't really know. if those debuts are strong enough to win a big prize like this, but you know what? I'll be pleased if they do. Oh gosh, a difficult one. Difficult one. Anyway, have you read the list? The long list, the short list? Which one was your favorite? Which do you think is going to win? Which do you want to win? Just let me know in the comments. I look forward to hearing what you think. Thank you so much for watching as always, and hey, see you back. Bye.